Happy Valentine's Day! So I'm so excited to be talking about a book that I love on the holiday that's celebrating love. So if you're new around here, I'm Stephanie, and this is the playlist where I talk about the books that I get all bubbly about while drinking some bubbly. And today I'm going to be cheersing to Look Closer by David Ellis. There are going to be spoilers in this review, so hopefully you've either already read it or don't care about spoilers. If you want a spoiler-free version of the review, please check out my What I Read in January 2024 video. So I had this sitting on my book cart for like 7 months last year. So I finally made it a priority read for 2024, and it was actually my first read of the year, and I'm so glad it was because I absolutely loved this. But let's go ahead and see what the book promised to be about. Simon and Vicky couldn't seem more normal. A wealthy Chicago couple with a stable, if unexciting, marriage. But with these two, absolutely nothing is what it seems. When a beautiful socialite is found hanging in a mansion in a nearby suburb, Simon and Vicky's complex web of secrets begin to unravel. A whirlwind affair, a $20 million trust fund about to come due, a decades-long grudge, and an obsession with revenge. These are just a few of their lies with devastating consequences. Both Vicky and Simon are liars. But just who exactly is conning who? Prepare to question everything you think you know in this wickedly clever novel of greed, revenge, obsession, and quite possibly, the perfect murder. So, I joke, but I really loved this. I can totally see why this was hyped all over Bookstagram. This was fantastic. I was so engaged with this. I loved every minute of this suspenseful read, and I'm so glad that I kicked off 2024 with this book because it was such a good mystery. Like, Ellis was really great at dropping hints and bombshells in all the right places, and I had to speed read my way through this because I just couldn't put it down. Every time I thought I had the plot lines figured out, Ellis revealed something that completely blew my mind. Like, I think Vicky is so smart in pulling this con on Simon, and boom, we get the reveal that he knows what she's doing. And even better, at the end, it all still works. It all lines up with what we knew. We just weren't seeing it for what it was. Like, we think Simon is texting Lauren, the socialite that dies at the beginning, but we never actually see her side, so the reveal really works. We've been seeing what's happening, we just didn't have all the information. And even when I thought I had it all figured out, Ellis was always 2 or 3 steps ahead of me and making me rethink everything I knew and look closer at what was going on. And again, everything fit, and it was just so satisfying to see how the cons were stacking up and who was playing who. This is the type of cat and mouse plot that I really expected from You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. That book disappointed me. This did not. This was a really good cat and mouse game where you think you know what's going on, but you don't know. This book just did it so well. I will say I honestly was getting a bit worried near the end that it would kind of just like veer off into the ridiculous territory, or Ellis would introduce some like twist or gotcha moment, because the plot does get quite complex, but he delivered a great ending that brought everything home and tied everything up so nicely. The entire book, I just kept waiting for the other shoe to drop and Simon to turn out to be a bad guy. I mean, he's not great, let's be real, but he was good to Vicky and he supported her, and yeah, he was supporting her in her revenge murder, sure, but come on, Christian kind of had it coming after finding out that he was conning Vicky's sister. There was a real web of plot lines and characters connected in ways that we just don't expect them to be in this. So I really loved how original this was and how it didn't rely on cheap tricks that I feel are so common in the recent thrillers that I've read. Like, the villain would be a rando who had like one scene on page 10, and then it is announced as the big bad with their big bad villain monologue. This did not have that. This had wickedly clever main characters who had nothing to lose and wanted their revenge, but played it smart enough and long enough so they could get away with it. I can't stress how well executed and well paced this is. I mean, this baby is over like 400 pages, but to me, it didn't read that way. It's like Shrek. It has so many layers, and you just want to peel them all back and see what's at the core of the story. The plotting in this is really intricate, and again, it just works. It all comes home and all lines up the way you want it to. There's no over-the-top twists needed in this. As the book goes along, we start to see the bigger picture, and we continue to zoom out until it all makes sense on both a micro and a macro level. I read a lot of thrillers. It's probably my favorite category of books, and I truly appreciate that Ellis gave us a good thriller that made sense at the end. Again, I've read a few thrillers recently that the villain is basically just having a psychotic break or has a really petty reason for why they're doing what they're doing. But I sympathize with both Simon and Vicky, and I just love how they concocted this plan together to con and kill two other really terrible people. If I had any criticisms, it would be that some of the formatting threw me off a bit. Like, we'll have a section of a scene and then like a page kind of break, but then it's still somewhat the same scene, like no time has really passed. Honestly, it was just an odd stylistic choice for me, but it might work for other readers. I do also wish that some of the description was a bit stronger. Like, the plotting was an A. The settings and immersing myself in that setting was maybe a C+. Like, there's just a lot of telling and not a lot of showing in this, which I think could have been tightened up a little bit better. Again, given we have such a great plot to work with here. Now, I will say, I think there was somewhat of a plot hole with Christian's death. So Christian is this like finance broker who thinks he's working with Vicky to get the trust fund from Simon, even though he also has plans to screw Vicky out of her portion of it and run off with her money, not knowing that like they already know. They know who he is. Like, they specifically targeted him. So they set him up to kill Lauren, the socialite that seems to be having an affair with Simon. And then Vicky goes over to the house to end Christian's life. And she ends up drugging him and shooting him. But I watch a lot of Forensic Files, like your average true crime obsessed bitch, and it actually kind of makes my husband a little nervous sometimes with how much I watch it. I have a feeling they'd find proof that Christian didn't take his own life. Like, there would be gunpowder residue, depending on if he's left or right-handed. There was a lot there that I was kind of like, but on the one hand, I'm like, it's a well-done story, and Christian also sucked. So maybe they would just go with the case of, like, this case is kind of closed, because we're just going to leave it alone. He's gone. So I've seen some reviews that said this was a really slow start, and that they didn't get invested until about 20% in. But to me, I didn't notice that. I guess I could see how the beginning is slow. But again, this wasn't something that was a problem for me, but it may be a problem for other readers. It was something that I did pick up on in Grady Hendrix's How to Sell a Haunted House. But I felt the amount of time given to setting up the stage and Look Closer really worked for me. But again, that's something that you may want to be aware of, that some people found this to be a slow start. All in, I gave this 5 stars. This was a great start to the year, and a book that actually deserved all the hype that it got. So tell me, have you read a really good domestic thriller / things aren't what they seem? I would love to hear about it in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching Books and Bubbly, and I will see you next time.